Hi, everybody. I'm back. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16 millimeter films, even when I'm not at the archive. Thank you so much for tuning in to my pre recorded shows that I did from the bedroom that I was staying in Austin, Texas. Austin was really awesome. Except it was really hot, brutally hot, and I just don't do well in that environment. But what we just saw was Autumn, made in 1936, silent film from the Mogul Brothers collection, and we scanned it for the Oregon Archive. Beautiful nature photography, probably sourced from something that was 35, and then they shrunk it down to 16. So what was I doing in Austin? I was on the board. I had a board meeting and staff meeting with the American Genre Film Archive, which is based in Austin. And then I did a screening on Monday. And let's see. I can bring this up. I was dressed as an angel, and I showed religious films at Fantastic Fest, which is an amazing festival if you are into horror, fantasy, sci-fi. So as part of that, then let me make this disappear. Sorry. Satan showed up and showed some 16 millimeter films about sin. It was my friend Ivan from Bat City Cinema, and he's the one that kind of proposed the show, and so we kind of threw it together. It was a lot of fun. Let's see. I'm not a big celebrity person, but there you go. Leonard Maltin was there briefly. He had to go introduce another film, Roar, that was being shown at the festival, and I was like, please hang out, and I quickly got a selfie with him, and I asked him, I said, so are you ready to run the 16 projector? And he said, yep, sure can. And he said, it's not an auto load, is it? And I'm like, no, it's just an Ike slot load. He says, great. So anyways, he's really kind. I met his daughter and granddaughter. But really, the coolest thing was after the show, I met one of our fans, Juliet Jones, who lives in Austin and showed up. Unfortunately, she showed up late. But I was walking around and I saw this woman wearing an AV Geek shirt, and I was like, hey, I like that shirt. And she kind of looked at me, and I was wearing a mask because COVID is on the rise, and I have to go to Toronto next week, and I didn't want to get COVID and not go to Toronto. So anyways, she didn't recognize me. I was like, hey, nice shirt. She's like, oh yeah, this is an AV Geek shirt. This guy collects, and then she looked at me, she was like, wait, you're Skip. So yeah, it was great seeing Juliet. I really enjoy seeing you guys in person. And so we'll just keep trying to travel around and see more and more of you. All right, so I'm back, but only for like a week, because literally next week, Wednesday, I'm traveling to Toronto, and I'm doing some screenings and talks at the University of Toronto. And I think one of those will be a public one. So if anybody is in Toronto, please say in the comments, and I'll try to give you details. You ready for some Coronet? I think I'm ready for some Coronet. It's been a while. So here's reactions. Oh wait, this is not a Coronet film, and this one, it sounds like our good friend is talking, James Brill, but it's not. It's some other guy. So this is reactions in plants and animals. Enjoy.
All living things have a common property called irritability, which is revealed by their reactions to stimuli. In the present picture, the pricking is the stimulus, and the reaction is the quick withdrawal of the hand. The energy used for the pricking is very small, but the resulting reaction involves generally a much larger amount of energy. This is characteristic of all manifestations of irritability. An illustration based on directed motion in non-living matter is shown here. We scatter iron filings on a glass plate and hold a powerful magnet under it. If we tap the plate lightly, the magnetic field gradually causes the filings to form a pattern. The filings are moved by the tapping. The definite pattern is determined by the magnetic force. If iron filings were living things, we would have called this oriented movement a tropism, from the Greek word meaning I turn. If we remove the magnet and tip the plate, the filings are now influenced only by gravity. Therefore, they slide off the plate. Reaction in living things to the change in direction of gravity is called geotropism. Most organisms show this reaction. Plant stems show plainly the so-called negative geotropism, which makes them grow vertically away from the earth. This in itself is a reaction to gravity. We can disturb this normal reaction by placing the plants so that their stems are horizontal. If we do so and leave the plants in darkness for a few hours, we find that the stems have turned away from the earth, so that their tips again point upward. It may be simpler to say that plant stems normally point vertically upward, and that any change in position determines a reaction which brings them back again to a vertical position. Many trees show this reaction. Here is a bent tree. It reacted as the seedlings did, bending up gradually. For purposes of study, however, this bending can more easily be followed in small oat seedlings. See how they react. First, there comes a slight bend close to the tip, which gradually increases until the tips are pointing upward again. Here again, you can see another plant reacting to a change in position. Every time a plant is stimulated by a change in position, the same reaction occurs. Animals, too, are sensitive to a change in position. Here is a common snail crawling on a vertical plate. Notice that it is moving in an upward direction. We then revolve the plate so that the snail is crawling horizontally. Immediately, its shell drops and its head turns to the new upward direction. Gradually, the body turns until the snail is pointing up again. In animals, we can get this reaction clearly only when the animal is actively moving. All animals, even human beings, show this reaction more or less distinctly. Phototropism, another reaction of all living things, is determined by light. An organism turns toward or away from a source of light. To demonstrate this turning reaction, we use an oat seedling. Grown in total darkness, it was straightened vertical. Exposed to a constant source of light placed at its left, the seedling bends toward it in the course of 4 hours. Many animals show phototropism. The fruit flies in this tube are scattered all about under the influence of light coming from all directions. Suddenly we turn off all but one strong light at the right end of the tube. Gradually most of the flies collect at that end. The single strong light was the directing stimulus. The movement of the flies toward it was the reaction. Stereotropism, or directed response to contact, can be observed in plants. A young tendril has been brought in contact with a stick. Slowly this tendril winds itself around the stick, as we see a few hours later. The contact with the stick has been the stimulus. The twining has been the reaction. Even animals show stereotropic reactions. Notice this mouse. Its running along the wall is determined as a reaction to touch. From time to time, side movements seem to indicate a tendency to lose contact with the wall, but the mouse very soon returns to it. All mice generally follow walls. Other tropisms are known, for instance, to the electrical current. A worm, when placed across the electrical field, will turn both ends away from the positive pole, which the arrow indicates. If we reverse the current, the worm turns the other way. This is a true tropism, a directed reaction to a stimulus. Fishes, on the other hand, react to the direction of a current of water. In one picture, the floating strings are forced out of the vertical position by the current of water, which the fish always face. If we reverse the current, in a few seconds the fish have turned so as to head against it. Such a reaction can frequently be seen in rivulets and streams, where schools of minnows and other small fishes swim in large numbers with their heads pointing upstream. Note how quickly these fish react to the change in current. Even if they do not progress forward, they will always swim in such a direction that the current will not carry them downstream. Higher reactions are the result of the interplay of different stimuli. Some plants, such as the Venus flytrap, are called sensitive plants for their quick reactions to touch. In the center of each half of the hinged leaf are 3 stiff hairs, which at the slightest touch will cause the closing of both halves. The stimulus is applied directly to the hairs, but the hinges close the leaf, so some transmission of effect from hairs to hinge must have occurred. The true sensitive, or mimosa, is the most famous of these reacting plants. If we touch the tip of a leaf gently, we notice that first one and then another of the leaflets fold over. Then if we stroke harder, the whole set of leaflets folds over. In every case, the stimulus is transmitted away from the point where it is applied. Animals will show reactions of the same order. The puffer fish, when handled or rubbed on the belly, puffs up and expands a great deal. The stimulus was the scratching of the skin. The reaction was the puffing up of the entire body. Many organs far from the point of stimulation are brought into play to produce this result. Some reactions in higher animals are absolutely involuntary. If we rub this dog's back, his hind leg scratches his side vigorously. This can be done over and over again. It is a true involuntary reaction. The same is true of the kicking reaction of the leg.
Just kind of ended. All right. Here I am. Let's see. Um, Now let's watch some Cornet. It's been a while. My good friends at Cornet. Energy in its forms. Enjoy.
Energy is all about us. Everywhere we go, and in everything we do, we use energy. Can you imagine what the world would be like without energy? Without energy, automobiles could not move. Without energy, people could not walk. In fact, without energy, we couldn't even talk or show this film. Now, before we see our next scene, let's think. What is energy? We can think of energy this way. Energy is what makes things happen. To see how things happen, we have to know that there are different forms of energy. 7 common kinds of energy are energy of movement, energy of position, light energy, sound energy, heat energy, electric energy, and chemical energy. We can easily see how energy of movement gets its name, for energy of movement is the kind of energy objects have when they move. There is energy of movement shown by an automobile as it goes down the street. And there is energy of movement shown by our own bodies when we are walking. There is energy of movement in this piece of steel being raised to the top of this building. But after the steel is in place high above the ground, the energy of movement has been changed to another kind of energy called energy of position. Another name for energy of position is potential energy. There is also potential energy, or energy of position, in this tree. As the tree falls, the energy of position is changed to energy of movement. There is energy of movement in the falling water moving over a dam. Above the dam, the water is stored in a reservoir. Here it has energy of position. But when the water is released and allowed to flow over the dam, the energy of position is changed to energy of movement. It is easy to find many more examples of energy of movement and energy of position. Now let's look at light energy, another important kind of energy. Our most important source of light energy is the sun. During the day, light energy of the sun helps us to see. At night, we see by the light energy of street lamps. We use light energy in many ways in our homes. In a television set, we have light energy and another kind of energy, sound energy.
What do you know? She made it.
Ha-ha! I guess you're right. You don't have to have a thing to be happy.
Sound energy is very important to us because sound energy makes it possible for us to hear. Some kinds of sound energy are very noisy. Other kinds of sound energy are very pleasant. Another important kind of energy is heat energy. Heat energy helps us in many ways. The warmth we feel near a fire is the result of heat energy. Keeping warm is one way we use heat energy. And we use heat energy in cooking. In industry, heat energy is used to produce steel and to melt metals in welding. Heat energy has many uses, and so has another kind of energy, electric energy. Electric energy comes from the batteries used in a flashlight. Electric energy also comes from huge electric generators in power plants. From the generator, electric energy may be sent hundreds of miles, carried by wires, to our homes. Here, electric energy is used to operate our many different types of electric appliances. Another form of energy which we use every day is chemical energy. Chemical energy is the kind of energy found in all our fuels. There is chemical energy in coal. There is chemical energy in gasoline. There is chemical energy in wood. And there is chemical energy in food, for food is fuel for the body, giving us the energy we need to move and grow. These kinds of energy are useful to us every day. We all know about another kind of energy, nuclear energy. This is one of our newest sources of energy. In a reactor, such as this one, the tremendous energy of nuclear change is put to use in generating electricity. Nuclear energy is also used to drive submarines and ships. Now we are ready to learn the most important thing about energy. That whenever we use energy, we change it from one kind to another. For example, the chemical energy in gasoline is changed to another kind of energy in the engine of an automobile. As the gasoline burns inside the engine, the chemical energy changes to heat energy. The heat energy expands the gas, which pushes and moves the pistons. This energy of movement, in turn, moves the rear wheels of the car. So, in a car, chemical energy is being changed to energy of movement. We know that people walking also have energy of movement. The energy we need to move, to live, and to grow comes from food. Within our bodies, the chemical energy in food is changed to other kinds of energy, including the energy of movement. Let's look at another example of energy being changed from one form to another. In this mixer, electric energy is being changed to energy of movement. When we use a television set, we change electric energy to sound energy and light energy.
Oh, I'm as happy as I can be.
We have learned that our most important source of light energy is the sun. Of course, the sun's energy, too, can be changed to other forms. When energy from the sun reaches the earth, it strikes the earth's surface and is changed to heat energy. The sun's energy strikes the water, where it is also changed to heat energy. The heat causes the water to evaporate, forming clouds. Later, when the water falls from these clouds as rain, it may enter a river. Then energy from the sun has been changed to energy of movement that we can see in the current of the river. The energy of movement in rushing water can be changed to electric energy in the powerhouse below the dam. In one way or another, almost all the forms of energy we use come from light energy of the sun. All animals we know get their energy from plants and from other animals that eat plants. We know that plants use energy from the sun to grow. As a plant grows, the sun's energy is changed into chemical energy, which is stored in the leaves, stems, roots, and seeds of the plant. Plants and animals that lived millions of years ago also received energy from the sun. After dying and being buried under the Earth's surface for millions of years, some of the plant and animal matter became the coal, and the oil that we use today. So this chemical energy, too, came originally from the sun. As we continue to learn more about energy, let's remember that energy can be found in different forms. Let's also remember that we change energy from one form to another whenever we put energy to use.
Man, I gotta find that puppet show that was televised. That was really something, and I know I have it because I have so many Coronet films that, yeah, it's gonna show up at some point because I did find some other marionette things. I think for Rumpelstiltskin, maybe. I don't know. I don't think that was Rumpelstiltskin, but I'm gonna have to look and see. But they do show up, and they're like stunningly creepy marionettes. Okay, so behind me, there we go. I got the finger right there. Is another religious film. Boy, Skip, you just keep pounding us with religious films. Well, that was what was showing up while I was traveling last week. I got email from Keishon, my assistant, saying how many more boxes are showing up, and it was basically 95 boxes that came, and so that was probably 700 films, and I have another 500 showing up over the next couple of weeks that I have to prepare them for. But most of the films that I got from Albuquerque and Basement Films were religious films, so that's what we're watching. So here's yet another Concordia melodrama, somehow involving Jesus and young people. And I like the Concordia. It has kind of the Star Wars kind of scroll with the credits. So here is Pause for Concern. Enjoy.
What's up? Well, that's some way to greet a buddy.
Well, I'm just surprised to see you, that's all.
I don't know why. I spend enough time up here.
In the middle of the week?
Well, you just gotta have the right kind of job, that's all.
Yeah, I guess you sure do.
Listen, you got a cabin for a weary traveler?
In the off-season? Take your pick. Come on.
Is that you? Ernie, what a setup. Fresh air, outdoor life.
Yeah, but you're the one that gets to take off like this. How long you staying?
Oh, I don't know.
Hey, everything okay? Well, I mean, I thought maybe you and Sherry. Things running smooth there?
Oh, Sherry, fine. They're great.
Good. Well, I've got some chores to finish. If you need anything, holler, okay?
I'll do that.
And don't be surprised if a moose answers. That sort of thing happens around here, remember?
How it looks almost flesh-colored? Well, that's because it contains feldspar.
Hey, Hal. Pastor Kenny, I'd like you to meet an old friend of mine, Hal Tobias. Pastor Brewer's our minister in town.
Mr. Tobias?
Nice to meet you.
This is Kenny's his son.
Hi. Oh, am I interrupting anything?
No, I was just launching into a lecture on the properties of granite. I think you probably saved me from being a bore.
Say, you and Kenny ought to have a lot in common. He's been offered a football scholarship to state.
Oh, you must be pretty good. I'm okay, I guess.
Hal played football for state 4 years ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Well, I can see my campaign to make a nature lover out of him is going down the drain already.
Dad's trying to get me to be a rock hound. No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Kenny'd probably rather play football right now.
Well, this is the guy that can give you the pointers.
Hello, Pastor.
Oh, hello.
Kenny.
Hi.
Hal, is your cabin all right?
Fine, Kate.
Good. Say, Ernie, would you give me a hand with those logs?
Sure, honey. Hey, why don't you tell him about our homecoming game in our senior year?
That was Sherry Hammond calling.
Oh?
She wanted to know if Hal was here. When I told her, she said she was coming up.
Today?
Tomorrow morning.
Oh, well, what's wrong with that?
Well, she seemed upset.
Oh, they probably just had a fight. She's coming up to iron it out.
Oh, I don't know. It's odd, though. She asked me not to tell him she was coming. She talked as though she thought he might leave if he knew.
Kate, to tell you the truth, I'm as much in the dark about all this as you are.
You're in the dark.
Hal didn't show up at the office yesterday, and Dad told me to find him. He insisted that it was very important.
Do you know what he meant?
It's probably some business matter, and I'll bet it's not nearly as earth-shaking as he makes out. My father, he's the kind that pushes the panic button if his ballpoint pen runs dry. But anyway, I called all his friends in the city, and then I thought of you and Ernie.
You know, you could have spoken to Hal long distance.
That's the funny part. I told my father the same thing, and he said, no calls. You go up there yourself and bring him back. So, here I am. You know something, Kate? I feel a little bit like a member of a posse.
Well, come on in and freshen up.
Sherry.
Hi. Don't I even get a kiss after my journey? Now, before you start asking a lot of questions, I'll give you some answers. 1, Dad asked me to find you. 2, I love surprises.
That's for sure.
3, I'm not asking any questions myself. I'm here strictly as a message bearer.
Okay, what's the message?
Father wants to talk to you, in person.
About my taking off?
Well, you must admit it's not done every day. Personally, though, I think there's more to it.
More? Like what?
He wouldn't say. He acted very hush-hush. You haven't given any secrets to the Russians, have you?
No, not lately.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Dad's just pulling the mountain molehill bit again. Truth is, he's a frustrated actor. That's probably all there is to the whole business, don't you think?
Oh, sure. He's probably making something out of nothing. I don't know why he had to send you up here, though.
Must have been some reason.
Well, there was some reports I was supposed to have ready yesterday. He probably thinks he can't live without them. Well, the fact is, Sherry, the pressure was just getting to be too much, that's all. I had to cut out or go crazy. You know, I'll tell you something about your dad. He's a great guy, but he's a driver, too. Of course, you're his secretary. You ought to know. Anyway, the way it looks to me, I think he's driving me twice as hard as the others. Especially since he promoted me.
Just to prove he's not playing favorites, probably.
Oh, I know I should have asked his permission before I left. But I knew what he'd say. Not a very good way to get in with the boss, is it?
Hal, why don't you call him from here and explain?
No.
But
I'll work it out with him when I get back. And I'm not about to go back just yet.
I don't see why you can't telephone.
Sherry, I said no. And if he asks you what happened, that's exactly what you tell him. But I'll discuss it with him at the office. Ernie, you're looking at the world's biggest heel. No, there's a better name for someone like me. Embezzler.
What?
You know why I'm here? I'm running. Running because I've stolen from a man. I've stolen from Sherry's father, $2,000.
Wow. What'd you do a thing like that for?
You remember the time you told me I'd get in trouble if I kept betting so heavy on the horses? Well, I'm in it now. Big trouble. I've been stealing little by little from the business and losing every cent. The books were due to be audited yesterday. I couldn't go to work. All I could think of was getting out of there as fast as I could. I thought of the mountains, the lodge. Sometimes I think I've been running like this all my life.
I don't get it.
You remember when we were kids and I was always running away from home?
Well, if I came from the same kind of home you did, I might have run too.
Yeah, but I'm still doing it. You know how I feel right now? I'm so scared, I'm shaking. It's like the first time my old man came home drunk and started belting my mother around. I should have done something. I should have stopped him and done something. I ran.
Well, you were just a kid. What else could you do?
And the next time. And the next. Only I'm still doing it. And now look at me. That same scared kid, only this time it's 20 years later.
Hal, being scared is one thing. But you're not a hardened criminal. You've got to stop running. Because sooner or later, you're going to have to come back.
I know. But not now. Not now. I've got to have time to think.
What about Sherry? You figure she knows anything about it?
I doubt it. Her father must have found out about the money and told her to come up here and bring me down. Why should he tell her? No use making her miserable, too.
What do you think he'll do?
He's got every right to bring the police in on it.
Well, from everything you've told me about him, he seems like a decent guy. You know, he probably just wants to keep it quiet.
Well, even if you're right, I've stolen from the man. How do I even look him in the face? I can't even look Sherry in the eye.
Hal, I think I know someone who could help you. Pastor Brewer.
Listen, the only person who can help me is a miracle worker.
No, I know what I'm talking about. He's helped me. Not in the same way, sure, but...
I know how bugged you are on religion. And believe me, I respect you for it. Maybe someday I'll try it myself, but not now. This is too big a jam.
Hi, Ernie.
Hi.
You sure ordered beautiful weather for us. Maybe you should save it for the busy season.
Oh, we've got enough to go around. Well, listen, I'll see you two kids later, all right?
This mountain climate take your breath away? Or aren't we speaking today?
Oh, I know I'm not making this a very good vacation for you, Sherry. I told you shouldn't stay around here.
You think you're the only one who can do something on impulse? Besides, Dad won't miss me for a couple of days. I wanted to be with you, Hal. It's as simple as that.
I want to be with you, too.
Hal, this business with my father, there must be something you haven't told me.
I've told you everything. Now let's forget it.
Are you and he on the outs for some reason?
Please drop it, okay?
No, Hal. Don't you realize that anything that involves you and my father involves me, too?
I realize it.
This whole misunderstanding, or, well, I don't know what it is, whatever it is, I'm sure it could be cleared up if you just wouldn't be so stubborn. Hal, don't you realize how my father feels about you? To him, you're like a son, and you can talk to him like a son. Please, now won't you come on back and have it out with him? For me?
I can't. I can't.
Oh, boy, would I love to have a heap like this for one night. Just to take my girl for a drive.
You going steady?
Well, we're gonna get married as soon as I get out of college. Oh, 4 years plus grad school. Oh.
That's a long time to wait.
Guy could go nuts.
You'll make it.
Well, now, you and Miss Hammond, you could get married just about any time you wanted to, couldn't you?
No, it's not quite that simple.
Hal? You got a second? I want to ask you something.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, it's about that football scholarship to state.
What about it?
Well, there's this other college, Parkman, and even though Dad doesn't push it, I know he wants me to go there. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, it's a small school, isn't it? Very good scholastically.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it's not nearly as big or as famous as state, but, well, it's tops for chemistry, and that's what I want to major in. And when I get out of college, I want to become a research chemist.
Well, what's the chemistry setup at State?
Oh, it's all right, I guess, but, well, at Parkman, it's kind of a specialty with them, you know? I mean, the department's won all sorts of awards and things. I still want to play football very badly, but, I don't know, I just wonder whether I shouldn't go to Parkman. And not just because of Dad, either. Hal, what do you think?
Hey, now, wait a minute. I don't know anything about Parkman or chemistry.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I mean about State, about playing for the team. Is it really that great?
Well, in my case, my family didn't have very much money. I couldn't even have gone to college if I hadn't gotten a football scholarship.
You had to go that route, too, huh?
I don't know, being out on that field every Saturday afternoon made me feel like somebody pretty special. That may sound rah-rah and corny to you, but for me, it was the greatest. But what's right for me may be all wrong for you. Kenny, can I ask you something that's not about football?
Yeah, sure.
It's about your father's work. I've heard that ministers sometimes give personal counseling to people in trouble.
Oh, that's right.
How do they help?
Are you in some kind of trouble, Hal?
It's too complicated to explain.
Morning, Mr. Tobias.
Pastor?
Kenny, thought we were going fishing.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Dad. Hal, why don't you ask Dad about it?
Oh, it's nothing. No.
About what?
Well, Hal just wanted to know.
It really isn't anything.
Are you sure?
Positive. Well, anyway, don't empty that stream. Save a few for me, huh?
Okay. Thanks for letting me drive, Hal.
Hi, Hal.
Kate? You going hunting?
A little later. Want to come along?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you go get dressed? I'll meet you at the cabin, huh?
Right.
I was about to say, I don't see what good the money'll do.
Well, for one thing, it might give him a little peace of mind. You see his face? He's beginning to look like an old man.
2,000. Well, it's practically everything we have in savings.
We'll make out.
All right. You lend Hal the money, he returns it to Sherry's father. Do you really think it'll end there for him? The money's not the answer. Not really. And I'm not being selfish or miserly. Hal can have it. But you know as well as I, the peace of mind he'll get won't be very lasting. After a while, he'll feel guiltier than ever. Have you talked to him about going to church with us? If he could just get straightened out in other ways, maybe he'd see that the money's not the answer.
Well, I've already tried that. But you know how.
Yes, I do.
Go on, take it.
Ernie, I can't.
Don't give me a hard time.
This must have cleaned you out.
A drop in the bucket. I'm secretly a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be hitting you for the same kind of dough someday, probably. Just be sure you remember a friend, huh?
I won't forget. How does Kate feel about it?
She's all for it.
She must think I'm a leech. She probably thinks that's the only reason I came up here in the first place.
Nah, you've got it all wrong.
Ernie, why do you let me make a sucker out of you? Why don't you tell me to pack my bags and get out of here?
Listen, Hal. I can't change your opinion of yourself, but I can tell you this. Nobody around here thinks you're making suckers of us.
My opinion? Personally, I wouldn't lend a penny to a guy like me. That's right, I stole. From your own father. What do you think of me now?
Why didn't you tell me before?
I don't know, I thought you'd walk out on me.
Did you really think that?
I don't know what I thought. I know what I think now, though, about myself. I'm nothing but a parasite who bleeds his best friends dry. Imagine Ernie giving me a check for $2,000.
You'd do the same for him. And he knows it.
Now this kid Kenny, hanging on every word I say. I have got a real talent for fouling people up, haven't I? Well, haven't I?
What do you want me to do, Hal? Condemn you? You're doing a beautiful job of that yourself.
I stole from your father. Aren't you even angry?
Angry? No. Disappointed? Yes.
I suppose you want to break up the engagement now.
Is that what you want?
I want you to be happy, Sherry. And I don't believe you can be happy with someone like me.
Hal.
I know what I'm talking about. I never told you about my family because it's not a very pleasant subject. But I'll tell you now. My father was a weakling and a drunkard. He ruined my mother's life. He was always running to the bottle. Well, I'm not much better. I've done some running, too. Before your father hired me, I had a dozen jobs. And whenever the going got too rugged, I ran to the next one. Or to the track. Or to the nearest bar. Like my old man. Is that what you want? What my mother had?
You're not like that. You may have been mixed up before I met you, but you're not nearly as bad as you paint yourself. Hal, if you go back and you tell him the whole story, I know he'll understand. When he sees how sorry you are.
It isn't just your father, it's me. I can't live with myself. How do I make amends to a man when I can't even look at my own face in the mirror? I want you both to know that I appreciate the check. But I couldn't do it. I tore it up. Save your money for something worthy.
Al, when I first brought up the idea of giving you that check, Kate warned me it wouldn't really work. She said sooner or later you'd begin feeling guiltier than ever.
Well, that's just how I feel, even though I did tear up the check. Why is that?
Have you spoken to the pastor?
Do you really think that would help?
That's up to you. Anything's better than what you're going through, isn't it?
I bet you don't run into many people like me, Pastor. Rotten enough to steal from a man who practically treats him like a son.
On the contrary, I deal with people every day who have problems similar to yours, people who done something dreadfully wrong and then just can't live with the thought of it.
Oh, but they're not like me. I'm about as low as they come.
In a way, I'm glad to hear you say that. It's a good sign.
What's good about it?
Shows you're repentant, deeply sorry for what you've done. And it also shows that you're aware of your need for forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Even if Sherry's father could forgive me, I know I could never forgive myself.
Well, this may come as a surprise to you, but even if you were able to forgive yourself, you probably wouldn't feel any different from the way you feel right now. And you'd still be living under this terrible burden of guilt.
I don't understand.
The sin that you committed was more than just a sin against Sherry's father, although it certainly was that. Even though you would never have admitted it to yourself consciously, deep down in your heart you must know that what you did was a sin against God, as is every moral wrong. Surely you know, in this case, which of his commandments you violated.
Thou shalt not steal?
That's right. And since God was involved in what you did, he's certainly going to have to be involved in the way you settle it. And if you don't settle it, your conscience will never let you rest.
Look, Pastor, I'm not saying I buy this whole thing about my sinning against God. But if that's the way it is, what do I do about it?
Well, since you put the question to me so bluntly, I'll answer just as bluntly. Have you ever heard the passage from the Bible, Christ died for our sins? Well, now, those words mean exactly what they say, Hal. That God's own Son died for the terrible thing that you've done. He gave his life in payment, in atonement for the sins that you and I commit. So that when we come to God, trusting in what his Son has done for us, we stand forgiven in his sight. That's what the Bible says, Hal. That Christ died for sinners just like you, so that you could have his Father's forgiveness.
All I can say is there aren't many sinners just like me.
Well, from what I can gather, you've been involved in one crisis after another ever since you can remember. And never once in any of these crises have you ever turned to God for help. Don't you think that now is the time to turn to him?
Oh, Pastor, I only wish I could.
The main thing, Hal, is to know that God has already turned to you. And through Christ, you can be sure of his forgiveness. And once you have that, you've gained something else. Strength to face your daily problems. Courage to cope with them instead of always running away. But that's what you really want, isn't it, Hal?
More than anything else in the world.
Scared?
Plenty.
You sure you're ready to go back?
I think so.
I'm glad you had that talk with the pastor last night.
So am I. I mean that. Well, I better be going. You starting back too?
I'll be right behind you, all the way.
Thanks for sticking around. I don't think his... I'm looking to see if it mentions on IMDb that he was in this, and I don't think it does. Ryan O'Neal, who was in Harry Lydon. He was in Peyton Place. He was in Love Story. What's Up, Doc, which is one of my favorite films. It's in my top 10. I laugh so hard I cry when I watch it. And yeah, and he played a thief in this. This is why one of the reasons we like watching these films that are made from this time period is you don't know who's going to show up. This was an acting gig. This paid some bills, I'm sure, for Ryan. And it's high drama. And there was also some other character actors in there too that I recognize. But thanks for tuning in today. It was great to see you guys live, and also read your comments live. And we'll be back again tomorrow. Everybody take care. And if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, the subscribe button. You can donate via the super thanks button in YouTube comments. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks, and that money will go towards paying some storage rent. We have 4 storage units off-site, and so yeah. Anyways, everybody take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.